We have reached the end of the experiment, and I would say the biggest surprise was that there was no surprise. Let me explain with the numbers. Blood pressure. Now this one has been a big question mark, and to make this graph, I took my iPad and I went back to the earliest measurements that I had in July when I started running the 0 to 5K. And looking at it, my blood pressure was actually higher than when I started the no caffeine challenge, which means that this week I am actually much closer to my baseline as it was in July before I started to run. I will continue monitoring my blood pressure just in case. Let's take a look at the sleep quality. And when you look at the graph, you're like, oh my God, finally, the no caffeine kicked in and I sleep perfectly. Like I had one night 100% quality sleep and a couple of 99%. But as much as I would like to put this on the lack of caffeine, there is another variable that I think is a lot more significant. This week I was on my own. I didn't have my partner with me, which means that not only was I not tempted to stay up longer because we are watching a movie, we are playing a board game or something, but also even if I go to bed sooner, there would be the time where she comes to bed and I would make some noise, and I think my phone and the app would take that as agitation or possibly being awake. So this week was amazing. I suspect next week we'd go back to my baseline, but really the conclusion, removing the 600 milligrams of caffeine a day had no impact on my sleep. Unfortunately, I didn't think there would be. I was hoping, but there wasn't. I think at this point, a sleep mask and maybe earplugs would have a greater effect than not having coffee. Heart rate throughout, we've seen minimal impact, and I think it's fair to say again that caffeine doesn't have a huge impact on my resting heart rate. The afternoon energy dip, I was wondering maybe this is when I should introduce my cup of coffee. That would be a good strategic time to have coffee. I'm not sure that's a good idea. I find that for me at least the solution was quite simple. After lunch, get up. If I have time to go for a walk, perfect. If not, walk around while reading something, walk around while talking on the phone, whatever, just don't stay on the couch. That's the secret for me, at least. There are a couple of other benefits that I wasn't really tracking, but that became fairly obvious by the end of the experiment. The first one is financial savings. Herbal teas are about half the price of coffee. Even if I drink as much herbal tea, did I have about 6 cups a day? I didn't talk about the reaction time. Apparently just a little bit better when not caffeinated and obviously not suffering from withdrawal. Maybe that's what it is. Also, I should take into account that this challenge has lasted a month and every day I did those same tests. So it is possible that I simply also got a little bit better at those tests. Overall, it's fair to say that coffee or no coffee, my brain roughly works the same way. I didn't think about that. 1, 2, 4, 5, roughly the same number. Like I still have a cup of something at my desk. That hasn't changed. But anyway, saving money, even though that was not the primary motivation for the experiment, is a nice little perk. The second thing, I'm one of those people who don't feel thirsty. I don't feel the need to drink water, and I like to say, but coffee is water, and people say, but no, it's not. But herbal tea is much closer to water, right? So I think it's a better alternative, and that will help me be a little more hydrated than when drinking coffee throughout. Now, the real breakthrough during this experiment is what I explained last week, so I'm not going to go in great detail, but reintroducing not coffee, but coffee break. And that is quite funny because when we did the inner peace challenge and we tried mindful eating, and I thought that's just not, but I can do mindful drinking. And I did take the habit when I have a cup of tea to always take a few seconds to enjoy the warmth of the cup and smell the coffee, which I think I always did. And that could have sparked something in my brain, but it didn't. It took 3 weeks of not having any coffee to realize what I had lost, and that is a proper coffee break. The intention of having a break, highlighted by a lovely cup of coffee. Another big lesson is that 8 days of withdrawal has taught me, to some extent, obviously we're talking about simple headache and fatigue from not having caffeine, but it has taught me to some extent what physical dependence feels like. The headaches, the brain fog, the fatigue, bad enough that I had to cancel some of my previous engagements. No thank you. I don't want to ever put myself in a position where going one day without coffee means that I won't be able to function properly. And I remember before this challenge I read up a lot on coffee and caffeine, and they were articles that would say, yes, coffee helps with a headache. If you drink coffee, you're not gonna have headache. And I believe that's true. Now, I wasn't sure because some of the reports say, oh, it can cause headaches, obviously. So I was not sure, but I think I'm convinced now, yes. If you regularly drink coffee and you start to have a headache and you have a cup of coffee, that will get rid of the headache, because the headache comes from not having the coffee. I don't want to put myself in that situation. So what does that mean for the future? I will be reintroducing coffee. Duh. I said before it was never about getting rid of coffee altogether. I didn't think that after 4 weeks I would be a new woman and decide to not have coffee ever because my life is better without it. So I will reintroduce it, but the approach is going to be fundamentally different. First of all, one lovely coffee break a day. If it happens that this day I'm going to town and we're gonna have a coffee, then that's my coffee a day. If I happen to have a live stream, I think I will keep it. It's quite a habit to have a cup of coffee during a live stream. I'll keep that, but 1 cup of coffee a day. I would buy decaf. I don't mind decaf, so I think I'll buy decaf mostly. To help me do that, other than remind myself of the pain of week 1, I will change how I buy coffee. I used to buy it in bulk. I would order coffee, fill a drawer with it, and that would last seemingly for a long time, but it felt like I had a never-ending supply of coffee, so it didn't matter. We'll change that. I'll buy enough coffee for a week. We do grocery shopping once a week. So the difference will be from the old habit of having constant coffee, sipping throughout the day without any intention, and also probably masking some of the fatigue sometimes where I could have a break, but instead I'd make a coffee and then go back to work. Now it's going to be once a day. It's going to be intentional. Decaf, or when going out, I'm not going to order a decaf when I'm going out. I'm happy to have a regular coffee every once in a while. So it's not just a dose reduction, it really is a structural change to how I drink coffee. I started this challenge to find out if coffee or caffeine to a greater extent had a positive or a negative impact on my body and my life, and it turns out that neither, really. So that's the first lesson. My body performs just fine. If I am to believe the reaction time, maybe just a little bit better. I do not want to be in a position where not having coffee for a day means that I won't function as well. So I want to be extremely reasonable and intentional about my coffee. So now I get to test whether I can maintain this new relationship to coffee. Whether 1 cup of coffee a day becomes 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. I obviously hope not. I don't think it's terribly difficult. I'll know in a few weeks. I hope I won't have to make a video where I tell you that I'm back to square one. Hopefully I'll have good news. We'll find out. I guess the real experiment starts now. It's not, can I function without caffeine? It is, can I maintain a healthier relationship with a hot beverage that I genuinely enjoy. I love the taste of coffee. I love having a latte, not my cat, but like an actual latte. That's the next step for me. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, for following along. Special thanks to Tansy and MercuryBot who did the challenge with me. It really helped to be able to talk with them on Discord and share our pain and suffering when that was the case, or feeling much better after all when that happened. That was lovely. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you soon for the next challenge. I'm gonna take a week off, not challenges next week. The next one is going to be the brain training challenge. I know. Until then, have a good time. I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.